By the time you clicked this video, a 9-year-old boy had already made a decision that would split his life in two. He thought he was just watching a normal neighborhood argument from his front steps, but one single choice to keep his mouth shut changed absolutely everything. And the terrifying part is, it started a lifelong war for his very soul. If you find yourself constantly searching for the deeper meaning behind the movies you watch, you belong here. Hit that subscribe button and join the Epic Lens family. We uncover the real, terrifying stories behind the screen together. Welcome back to Epic Lens. Today we are stepping onto the unforgiving streets of 1960s New York to break down Robert De Niro's brilliant 1993 directorial debut, A Bronx Tale. This is not a standard mafia movie. This is not a story about climbing the ranks of organized crime or building a criminal empire. This is a deeply grounded, strictly factual coming-of-age story about a boy caught between two fathers. One is an honest, hard-working bus driver. The other is the most feared mob boss in the neighborhood. The year is 1960. We are placed directly into the heart of an Italian-American neighborhood in the Bronx, specifically around Belmont Avenue. This is a closed-off, insular world. Everyone knows everyone. People sit on their front stoops, the local bars are filled with familiar faces, and the unwritten rules of the street govern daily life more than the actual law. At the center of this world is a 9-year-old boy named Calogero. Calogero is an observant, innocent kid who spends his days sitting on his front steps, watching the neighborhood operate. Calogero's biological father is Lorenzo, played perfectly by Robert De Niro. Lorenzo is a man of absolute, unbreakable principles. He works long, grueling hours driving a city bus to provide for his wife and son. They do not have a lot of money, but Lorenzo has his pride. He teaches Calogero that the true measure of a man is not how much money he flashes or how much fear he commands, but his willingness to wake up every single day and do an honest day's work. Lorenzo's ultimate philosophy, a phrase he repeats constantly, is that the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. He wants his son to stay out of trouble and make something real of his life. But Calogero is completely fascinated by a different kind of man. Just down the street from Calogero's stoop is a local bar. This bar is the headquarters for Sonny Lo Specchio. Sonny is the absolute ruler of the neighborhood. He is the local mob boss. When Sonny walks down the street, the entire neighborhood stops. People clear a path. Store owners offer him free goods. He commands absolute, unquestioned respect. To a 9-year-old boy sitting on a stoop, Sonny looks like a king. He wears tailored suits, he flashes thick rolls of cash, and he never has to wake up at dawn to drive a bus. Lorenzo sees his son staring at Sonny and the gangsters. He strictly forbids Calogero from going near the bar or speaking to those men. Lorenzo knows that the glamour is a trap and that the criminal life only ends in prison or death. But the boundary between the innocent world of Lorenzo and the violent world of Sonny is completely shattered on one fateful, sweltering summer afternoon. Calogero is sitting on his stoop, watching the street. Two men pull up in a car and get into a furious, escalating argument over a parking space with one of Sonny's friends. The argument turns instantly violent. One of the men in the car grabs a baseball bat and charges at Sonny's friend, swinging wildly. Sonny steps out of the bar. He does not hesitate. He draws a weapon, aims it directly at the man with the bat, and fires. He shoots the man in broad daylight, ending the threat instantly in the middle of the street. Calogero, frozen on his front steps, locks eyes directly with Sonny. Sonny looks at the boy. He puts a finger to his lips, giving a universal silent command to keep quiet. Then, Sonny calmly turns and walks away before the police arrive. The neighborhood erupts into chaos. The police swarm Belmont Avenue. Two hardened detectives grab Calogero, knowing he was sitting right there and had a clear view of the shooter. They drag him over to a police lineup. Lorenzo rushes to his son's side. He is terrified. He pulls Calogero aside. Lorenzo is an honest man, but he also knows the lethal reality of the streets. He tells Calogero that he must do what he thinks is right, but the unspoken fear in Lorenzo's eyes is clear. If Calogero points the finger at the local mob boss, their entire family will have a target on their backs. The detectives line up several men, including Sonny. They ask the 9-year-old boy to identify the man who pulled the trigger. Calogero looks down the line. He looks at Sonny. Sonny stares back, his face completely unreadable. Calogero shakes his head. He tells the police he did not see anything. He lies. He protects the killer. Because no other witnesses are willing to talk, the police have no case. Sonny is released. This single decision completely alters the trajectory of Calogero's life. By keeping his mouth shut, he followed the strictest rule of the streets. He did not rat. Sonny takes an immediate, profound interest in the boy. He renames him C, stripping away his traditional Italian name and giving him a street moniker. Sonny brings C into his inner circle. He lets the boy hang out inside the bar, the exact place Lorenzo forbade him to go. C begins fetching drinks for the mobsters. He starts making incredible amounts of money in tips just by throwing the dice for the gangsters during their high-stakes backroom craps games. For Sonny, C represents something pure. Sonny is surrounded by dangerous, greedy men who would betray him in a heartbeat if they had the chance. But C is just a kid who proved his loyalty when he had absolutely nothing to gain. Sonny steps into the role of a surrogate father, teaching C the laws of the underworld. Sonny teaches C a fundamental lesson about power. He asks C if it is better to be loved or feared. Sonny explains that while it is nice to be loved, love is fragile. Love can turn into hatred, but fear, Sonny says, lasts forever. He tells C that he maintains his power because people fear him, and that fear keeps him alive. But this new mentorship puts C on a direct, explosive collision course with his real father. Lorenzo eventually discovers a massive stash of cash hidden in his son's bedroom. He realizes that C has been disobeying his strict orders and working for Sonny. Lorenzo does not back down. He takes his son by the hand, grabs the money and marches directly into Sonny's bar. The tension in the room is suffocating. The mobsters freeze. Lorenzo walks right up to the most dangerous man in the Bronx and throws the money down on the table. Lorenzo looks Sonny in the eye and tells him to stay away from his boy. He tells Sonny that he doesn't want his money and he doesn't want his son corrupted by blood money. Sonny tries to play it off, acting like he is just doing the kid a favor. But Lorenzo delivers one of the most powerful, defining statements of the entire story. He tells Sonny that anyone can pull a trigger and act tough, but a real man, a truly tough man, gets up every morning and works for a living. The working man is the tough guy, Lorenzo says. Lorenzo drags C out of the bar, publicly slapping him on the street for disobeying his rules. It is a harsh, humiliating moment, but it draws a permanent, absolute line in the sand. C is now caught directly between the honest, difficult path of his father and the glamorous, dangerous path of the mob boss. The film then jumps forward 8 years. It is now 1968. Calogero is 17 years old. The innocence of the 1960s is completely gone. The neighborhood is changing, and the cultural shifts of the era are bleeding into the streets of the Bronx. Calogero has grown up balancing both worlds. He still lives at home. He still respects his father, but he is heavily entrenched in Sonny's crew. He has status. He has protection, but the neighborhood is highly segregated. And the racial tension between the Italian-American neighborhood and the neighboring African-American community on Webster Avenue is at a boiling point. The invisible borders between the streets are heavily enforced by violence. Calogero hangs out with a group of local teenage boys. They are aggressive, racist, and looking for trouble. They view the neighborhood borders as a war zone, but Calogero meets a girl at his high school named Jane. Jane is smart, beautiful, and African-American. Against every single unwritten rule of his neighborhood and defying the intense racial hatred of his own friends, Calogero begins talking to her. They share a profound, immediate connection. Calogero is completely torn. If his friends find out he's interested in a black girl, they will turn on him. He realizes he cannot ask his father for advice on this, because Lorenzo, while a good man, is still a product of his isolated environment. So Calogero goes to the only other father figure he has. He goes to Sonny. Surprisingly, Sonny does not judge him. Sonny, despite being a ruthless criminal, is incredibly pragmatic. He tells Calogero that nobody else's opinion matters. Sonny gives Calogero the famous steering wheel test. He tells Calogero to pick Jane up for a date, lock both doors of the car, and walk around to open the passenger door for her. Once he closes her door, Sonny says, Calogero must look through the window. If Jane reaches over and unlocks the driver's side door for him, she is a keeper. She is a selfish person if she just sits there and lets him unlock it himself. It is a small, brilliant piece of street wisdom about human nature. But Calogero's innocent romance is about to be dragged into a horrific, violent street war. His friends, driven by blind hatred, are stockpiling weapons. They are filling glass bottles with gasoline, creating Molotov cocktails. They are planning a massive, unprovoked, and highly deadly attack on the neighboring community. Calogero is completely trapped. He has a date with a girl he cares about, but his friends are demanding his loyalty for a violent race riot. The ultimate test of who Calogero will become, the honest working man or the violent street thug, is about to explode into flames. The tipping point happens in the middle of the afternoon. A group of African-American teenagers rides their bicycles through Calogero's Italian-American neighborhood. It is a completely harmless act, but to Calogero's deeply prejudiced friends, it is an invasion of their territory. His friends immediately attack the kids on the bikes, violently beating them in the street. Calogero does not want any part of this violence. In the chaos, he actually tries to protect one of the black kids, pulling him away from the mob and telling him to run for his life. But from a distance, Jane and her brother witness the end of the fight. They do not see Calogero saving the boy. They only see Calogero standing over him in a crowd of violent attackers. The misunderstanding is completely devastating. Later that evening, Calogero borrows Sonny's personal car to pick Jane up for their date. He's excited. He plans to use Sonny's famous steering wheel test to see if she is the right girl. But when he arrives, Jane's brother is standing there. Her brother immediately recognizes Calogero as one of the attackers from the street. He violently accuses Calogero of beating him. Jane, heartbroken and betrayed, believes her brother. She looks at Calogero with absolute disgust, turns her back on him, and walks away. The steering wheel test never even happens. Calogero's innocent romance is completely shattered by the toxic environment he grew up in. Heartbroken, Calogero speeds away in Sonny's car, but his night is about to get infinitely worse. He drives back into his neighborhood, only to be abruptly intercepted by Sonny and his men. The mobsters surround the car. Sonny yanks Calogero out of the driver's seat and throws him violently against the wall. Sonny is completely paranoid and furious. He screams at Calogero, accusing the boy of trying to assassinate him. Sonny explains that he found a bomb rigged under the hood of his car. Because Calogero was the one driving it, Sonny believes the boy he treated like a son has finally betrayed him. Calogero is terrified. He looks at the mob boss, tears streaming down his face, and swears on his life that he had nothing to do with it. He tells Sonny with absolute desperate honesty that he loves him like a father and would never hurt him. Sonny looks into the boy's eyes. He is the ultimate judge of character on the streets, and he sees the pure, uncorrupted truth in Calogero's face. The mob boss's hard exterior completely melts. He realizes he almost killed the only person in the neighborhood who genuinely cares about him without a hidden agenda. Sonny pulls Calogero into a tight, emotional embrace, but there is no time to process the moment. The sound of screeching tires echoes down the street. Calogero's friends pull up in a car. The windows are rolled down. The car is packed with nervous, adrenaline-fueled teenagers, and the backseat is filled with glass bottles of gasoline and rags, Molotov cocktails. They yell at Calogero to get in the car. They are heading straight to the black neighborhood on Webster Avenue to enact their violent revenge. They demand his loyalty. They call him a coward if he stays behind. Calogero, desperate to prove he is not a coward and completely confused by the chaotic night, makes the worst decision of his life. He walks over and climbs into the backseat of the car with the explosives. Sonny watches this happen. He knows exactly what those boys are going to do, and he knows they are driving straight toward their own destruction. Sonny does not hesitate. He walks directly up to the car, reaches through the window, grabs Calogero by the shirt and physically drags him out of the vehicle. Calogero's friends try to argue, but Sonny completely silences them with a single terrifying look of pure authority. He slaps Calogero across the face, shoves him away from the car, and orders the boys to drive away. The teenagers speed off into the night, heading toward the rival neighborhood. Calogero is furious at Sonny for embarrassing him in front of his friends. He storms off, completely unaware of the horrifying tragedy that is about to unfold. The teenagers drive into the African-American neighborhood. The streets are dark and tense. They light the rags on their Molotov cocktails, preparing to hurl firebombs into the storefronts, but they underestimate the people they are attacking. The residents of Webster Avenue are ready for them. As Calogero's friend prepares to throw a lit Molotov cocktail out of the car window, a resident steps out of the shadows and throws a heavy object directly into the car. The object strikes the teenager's arm, forcing him to drop the lit firebomb directly inside the vehicle. The car is filled with open containers of gasoline. The explosion is instantaneous and absolute. A massive, horrifying fireball engulfs the entire car. The doors are locked. The boys are trapped. Every single one of Calogero's friends is burned alive in the middle of the street. It is a brutal, unforgiving consequence of their own blind hatred and violence. Calogero, walking home in the dark, sees the smoke rising over the city blocks. He runs toward the scene and finds the charred, smoldering wreckage of the car. He sees the bodies of the boys he grew up with. In that horrific, silent moment of realization, the absolute truth crashes down on Calogero. Sonny did not embarrass him. Sonny saved his life. If Sonny had not physically dragged him out of that car, Calogero would be dead inside that burning metal frame. The mob boss just gave him a second chance at life. Overwhelmed with gratitude and shock, Calogero turns and runs as fast as he can back to Belmont Avenue. He runs to the local bar. He needs to find Sonny. He needs to thank the man who just saved his existence. The bar is packed. It is a crowded, noisy, chaotic late-night party. Mobsters are drinking, laughing, and throwing dice. Calogero pushes his way through the dense crowd, his eyes desperately searching the room for Sonny. He finally spots him. Sonny is standing near the back of the room, smiling, completely relaxed. Calogero starts to push through the crowd to reach him. But then, the unthinkable happens. Oh man steps out of the crowd. He is completely calm. He walks directly up behind Sonny. He raises a weapon, points it at the back of Sonny's head, and fires. The gunshot is deafening. Sonny collapses to the floor instantly. The most powerful, feared man in the neighborhood is dead before he even hits the ground. Absolute chaos erupts in the bar. People scream and scramble for the exits. Calogero is entirely frozen in terror. He looks at the shooter. The shooter is not a rival mob boss. He is not a professional hitman. The shooter is a young man, and Calogero recognizes his face. It is the son of the man Sonny shot and killed over the parking space 8 years ago. The same murder that Calogero witnessed as a 9-year-old boy. It is a chilling, perfectly closed circle of violence. Sonny spent his entire life teaching Calogero that fear is stronger than love. Sonny believed his power made him untouchable, but his violent actions created a ghost that waited 8 years in the shadows just to put a bullet in his head. The consequences of Sonny's life finally caught up with him. The movie transitions to a quiet, deeply emotional funeral parlor. The contrast is devastating. While Sonny was alive, he was surrounded by hundreds of people who claimed to be his friends. But in death, the funeral parlor is almost empty. The mobsters have already moved on to the next boss. Fear does not create loyalty. It only creates an illusion of respect. Calogero stands alone by Sonny's casket. He mourns the complicated, violent man who protected him, guided him, and ultimately saved his life. Carmine, the boss of all bosses, approaches Calogero. He tells the boy that Sonny was a good man, and he offers to bring Calogero into the mob to take care of him. But Calogero has finally learned his lesson. He looks at the empty room. He looks at the dead body of his surrogate father. Calogero politely declines the offer and turns his back on the criminal underworld forever. As Calogero stands by the casket, the front door of the funeral parlor opens. Lorenzo walks in. Calogero is completely shocked to see his biological father there. Lorenzo, the honest, hard-working bus driver who despised everything Sonny stood for, walks slowly up to the casket. Lorenzo looks down at the mob boss. He does not spit on him. He does not insult him. Instead, Lorenzo does something incredibly profound. He leans over the casket and softly whispers a genuine, heartfelt thank you to Sonny. Lorenzo knows that Sonny saved his son from burning in that car. He knows that despite the violence and the crime, Sonny truly loved Calogero. The two fathers, opposite in every way, finally find peace in their shared love for the boy. Calogero and Lorenzo walk out of the funeral parlor together. They walk down the quiet, empty streets of the Bronx. Calogero's voiceover returns to deliver the final, lingering message of the film. He reflects on the two men who shaped his entire existence. He learned from both of them. He learned the value of honest, hard work from Lorenzo and he learned the harsh, unforgiving realities of human nature from Sonny. He realizes that his father was right all along. The ultimate tragedy is not a lack of power, nor is it a lack of money. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent, and Calogero vows never to waste his. Bronx Tale is a masterpiece because it refuses to glorify the Mafia. It shows us that a life built entirely on fear is a lonely, empty existence that always ends in a pool of blood on a dirty floor. What do you think is the most powerful lesson in this movie? Do you agree with Sonny that it is better to be feared than loved? Or do you agree with Lorenzo that the working man is the true tough guy? Let me know your deep thoughts down in the comments below. And if you appreciate strict, factual deep dives into the greatest movies ever made, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Epic Lens. We respect the films, we stick to the facts, and we bring you the real story. Until next time, keep your eyes open and don't waste your talent.